Today, we're taking a look at what I think is the most slept on coffee machine in the coffee industry. So who am I and why should you trust my opinion on coffee equipment? You might already know me if you've came from Instagram, but if you've not, then I will gladly share with you now a little bit about me. My name is Adam and I'm a coffee professional that operates and lives in Glasgow, Scotland. Essentially, just like many other people, I got my start working in a cafe and finding I was really passionate about making coffee. So go on a couple of years, I found myself in a coffee roastery, packing bags, learning about green coffee, cupping, roasting, all that kind of stuff, getting a bit more insight into behind the scenes in the industry as a whole, going to lots of events and trade shows, that kind of thing. That later then led for me to become the in-house barista trainer for that roastery. Then after a while, I decided to then go self-employed as a trainer and a consultant. I'm now more focused on the latest thing I'm involved with, which is being a co-owner and director of where I am here at Parallel Coffee Roasters. I'm focused on that for the past couple of months. In that time, I also launched a dedicated Instagram page, just so I wasn't annoying my friends and family with loads of coffee content and spiel. But that kind of later grew and allowed me to gain access to doing sort of brand promotions and reviews and tutorial videos. As my knowledge grew working in the industry, I then sort of translated that over online in an easy to digest format while still being kind of fun and entertaining. So through the Instagram page, that led to me getting this amazing Conti Ace on loan for 6 months, just to test, to use, to featuring content, to almost promote it and market it in a sort of non-aggressive, very passive way, just featuring it and stuff at trade shows and events. And in that time, I've gotten to know it really well. Most home baristas or people at home who want to get coffee machines, especially higher end machines, often don't even know this machine exists. So I'm here today to raise some awareness about it. So we're going to do a general overview of the machine, what you can get out of this, what's my experience actually using it, what I really love about this machine, all its great features, and also some things I don't really like, things that could be improved. This is a review after all. Let's get started. There's 2 versions of this machine. There is a network and what is known as a dual version. So essentially with the network version, you can only plumb the machine in. You have to have a water source handy. The dual version offers you a lot more mobility with this machine. It's basically plug in and play. Connect it to a 13 amp power source and you can fill the water tank in the back or from the side. You can also plumb it in. There's a plumb-in kit provided with the machine, which is great. You don't have to buy any aftermarket plumb-in kit solutions like hoses, pipes, pumps, any of that stuff. You get it all with the dual version, which is what I have here. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the aesthetics and the build quality. The chassis of the machine is made out of steel and it's basically rock solid. Obviously compared to other single grip machines on the market, it's a little bit on the larger side. It is very heavy. It's about 40 kilos. If you're wanting to take this machine around and use it on your own, it can be a little bit challenging to lift it. It's not impossible, but have a trolley handy because it will do you good and it will save your back. It also comes with customizable plates, so you've got like different accents and pieces on the machine that you can swap out. On the back of the machine, you have a backlit logo, which is nice. It's got this really nice framework architecture, nice solid lines, soft curved edges. So on the front of the machine, we've got our control panel here. We've got a 3-digit display and 3 buttons. Really, really nice, satisfying noise on these buttons. Also a shot timer, which is really nice. You can program this first button here to be a flush. You've got your hot water tap and your steam actuator as well. One last little note about the hot water spigot is there is an internal adjustment you can do if you want to mix in some cold water. So if you're doing like teas or, for example, long blacks and you don't want boiling water, you can of course mix that and that way you can get some nice tasty coming out. Down below, you've also got some nice accessories like barista lights. You've got a shot mirror there. So you've got your drip tray and also the basin for water to catch in. You can, of course, attach a waste pipe to the drip tray so you don't have to worry about emptying it all the time. The steam wand itself is a little bit controversial. Some people I've spoke to don't really like it because of its small form factor. It means if you're using a really large milk jug, it could be a bit difficult to steam milk. That being said, you do have the option of swapping it out for a commercial sized steam wand that you get on any of the other Conti models. The only reason it is this small is just so it fits in the drip tray and it's not hitting off of anything. But again, if you were to get that other version, you can just obviously have it off of the drip tray. You just won't be able to purge it in there to get rid of any condensation. Little quick one about that is that the condensation you don't get much of on this machine. Distance between the steam boiler and the valve is really, really short. So normally when you purge this guy, there's really not much that's coming out. If I was some kind of marketing guru for Conti, I would say it's like extra dry steam, when really all it just means is there's less condensation in the pipe. Also down here in the back panel, you have your steam boiler pressure as well as your pump pressure. When you actuate a shot, you'll see that move. Some more little details there from the custom punched brass, which is nice. The menu navigation is really, really easy to get hold of. It's just a simple hierarchical deep dive menu. You can control everything on the machine from this menu. There is also an app you can download and install, which allows you to control everything on the machine. And additionally, you can even set on-off times, so you can have the machine nice and warm for you when you wake up out of bed or when you get into your business. It's ready, it's good to go. If you're not in the particular day, you can have it so it's turned off. Loads of good stuff there. There's also a diagnostics menu you can access directly on the machine, which allows engineers to basically run all of the systems the machine can do. Another really cool feature I like about this machine is its circuit purge feature. So at the top of the coffee boiler, they have a valve. It basically tells the machine to try and vacate as much of the air, if there is any, trapped inside of there. If air does get into the system, normally through the water inlet, essentially when you're plumbing it in and out or moving the machine around, sometimes air can make its way through the system, and that's usually where it sits at the top of the coffee boiler. That can really affect your pre-infusion and your volumetrics, so the built-in feature there is really, really handy, and it does sound a bit funny when you do it. Another really great feature the machine has is a first-time setup start cycle. This basically gets water into the system, saturates everything before heating up any of the elements to avoid any damage. If you buy a machine here in the UK, Conti will run this first-time setup as they check the machine to make sure that there was no damages during shipping from Monaco. So in the box, you get a couple of things, and you also don't get a couple of things. I actually don't have it with me here, so I'm going to overlay some B-roll of what you get. You're going to find in the box an instruction manual, cleaning tablets, a backflush basket, scrubbing brush, water and waste pipes. You don't have to go buy some kind of plumbing kit or anything like that. You're going to get 2 double baskets, a single basket, and typically we don't really use these as much anymore, and not 1, but 2 portafilters, which is fantastic. Just to touch on the bottomless handle, I'm not really a fan of the bottom here. It's got a little bit of this kind of ledge or covering over the basket, which tends to hide the shot a little bit as it's pulling. It's a purely aesthetical thing. For me, I don't really like it. I'd much rather if it was just straight walled and you could just see everything in the basket. Even if it was actually just less metal on the outside and you just had more of the basket visible, that would be really cool. Maybe if it was completely flat, which would be quite nice, so you could set it flat on your bench when you're doing your puck preparation, or maybe having some kind of hybrid spout system so you could choose to have bottomless or spouted on either handle. The really great thing about having two handles, at least for in a commercial capacity, is that you can obviously have a shot brewing while you are prepping your next shot. You can still go fairly fast even though you only have one grip head. The baskets themselves are, So the baskets themselves are custom made by IMS for Conti, and they are a little bit on the curved side, maybe a little bit dated by today's standards. The shower screen as well is also custom made, and together they say they are competition grade. In my experience, to be honest, I have found them to be absolutely fine. I really like using them. I think they're nice and consistent. They're obviously not to the level of your sort of modern super high extraction baskets, but to be honest, see for the day in, day out of making coffee in your house or running an event, like these ones do absolutely fine. No issues there. Typically, if you're super into your sort of espresso game, you would often buy an aftermarket basket. So it's not unusual to see a regular basket on here, and it's probably not something I'd ask for to include a high extraction basket. I don't quite think machine manufacturers are there yet, but if you know a machine that ships with a high extraction basket, let me know. So the things you don't get in the box, at least in my box, was a tamper and a milk jug, which means if you do buy this machine, you don't get everything you need to make a coffee when you first get it. I feel like this is probably in the nature of it being a bit more of a commercial rated machine rather than a home machine. You know, it's often expected that you would buy your own barista kit for use in your cafe or wherever you're putting your machine. And to be honest with you, the accessories like tampers and milk jugs that you do get with machines, regardless of the price point, are often pretty crap, poor value, poor quality control. So I don't really mind buying my own milk jug and tamper. That being said, at this price point, you would probably expect something to be included for you to just be able to make coffees off the bat. But overall, the accessories you do get with the Ace are really well done. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the bottomless handle, the handles themselves, the build quality is great. So on the inside of the machine, you're gonna find a 0.9 litre coffee boiler, as well as a 2.75 litre steam boiler. Those are both independently controlled with PIDs. There's also a third PID controlled element around the group head, and this is what they call their triple zone heat system. So this allows you to control the temperature at various areas within the machine, which will give you different results. So obviously steam boiler temperature changes is going to affect how powerful your steam is, as well as how hot the water is coming out of the spigot. And then secondly, of course, the coffee boiler temperature. This is basically your brew water. So how hot do you want to brew at? Typically ranging between 92 and 96 degrees for different levels of roast. That's where you would control that. And then lastly, the element around the group head, that is just to ensure temperature stability as the water leaves the coffee boiler and gets to the group head before it hits the puck. In my experience, that's what I've found. From a sensory point of view with this machine, it's been great temperature stability wise. I don't have a SCASE device to confirm that, but again, from what I've experienced, I've not really had any temperature issues at all. Like I said, you know, this is a commercial spec machine, which does lead us on to the fact that the boilers themselves, the flow meters, the pump, everything in here is basically the same as what comes in the MC Ultima, which is the bigger brother of this machine. You take another one of these, chucked it onto this, it would be the MC Ultima, which is kind of wild that you can get like that level of performance in something so small as this. So how do the coffees that come out of this machine taste? Well, they taste very good. We actually find that we get better coffee coming off of the Ace than we do on our Astoria Storm. Of course, other things are important like your grinder and your puck preparation and stuff like that, but we find the system that the Ace uses to pull shots is great. And that system, and what I'm talking about, is the soft infusion system. This is essentially Conti's take on pre-infusion, and it was basically designed by a very smart fellow in the Conti Monaco factory. I believe his name is David. He's a physicist there instead of an engineer. He designed the system and how it works. So their goal is to replicate what you would find on a lever machine, the same profile and how it softly ramps up with pressure. It's very similar to that, except it doesn't use a spring and it doesn't use a big lever. Instead, he's opted to basically calculate the physical distance between a special pre-infusion valve all the way through the steam boiler up to the coffee boiler and to the grip head. And he can then use that distance to basically account for how much pressure will be in the system, so that when they essentially close this pre-infusion valve that sits at the bottom before the pump, they close that so nothing can get through. They discharge the pressure in the system through to the grip head, and the space above the puck first fills with that pressure, which then means the resultant pressure that actually hits the puck is equivalent to about 0.8 bar, which is the same as what you would find on a traditional lever machine. And that's a little bit of a throwback to Conti's start and how they only made lever machines back in the day. So that's kind of cool. And it's also really nice because with lever profiles, they're just so tasty. There's a couple of other ways people would implement pre-infusion for their coffee machine. So for example, one of the most basic ways to do it is to do a pump cycle. Essentially, you turn the pump on, shoot some water through, you turn it off quickly after like 1 second. That water travels through, smacks the puck and saturates it. Because the pump's currently off, it's just a little bit of water that gets there to saturate it, makes it swell, gets it ready to then, after the pump turns back on after a second or two, sends the rest of the water, builds up to 9 bar very quick, and smashes into a nice soft wet puck. This helps increase consistency shot to shot, which is really good. The downside of that, a lot of these machines with their 3-way solenoid valve above the grip head, when you turn the pump off initially for the pre-infusion, there's extracted solubles in there that basically get yeeted out of the exhaust pipe. You basically lose the first part of your extraction to the pre-infusion. This means that you lose flavor. This means that you lose potential extraction. Some other coffee machines rely on line pressure pre-infusion. Essentially what they do is they have a pump bypass, so they allow the pressure coming into the machine, push water all the way through the grip head into the puck, and use that to hit the puck with a softer amount of pressure and then pre-infuse it before it ramps up to the 9 bar. Obviously line pressure is variable at best. It ranges anywhere from 2 to 5 bar. Obviously the caveat is you could put a pressure regulator on your water inline. That way you can have a consistent pressure coming into the machine. I believe Mavim recommend this for some of their coffee machines. If you have a machine that also runs off of a tank, that line pressure feature, you might lose it if you're running it on tank mode. And then lastly, another kind of pre-infusion you might find is when you use flow profiling. And this is essentially when you use a needle valve in the machine. This is what you might find on a Slayer. It basically opens the valve a little bit. It allows a smaller flow of water to come through to the grip head. And as we know, as if we control our water debit, that allows us to then control the buildup of pressure and how quickly it happens. So you can use that system to basically go up and down in flow rate, which allows you to then control pressure to the puck. The reason it's called flow profiling and not pressure profiling is, of course, because that's what you're doing. You're controlling the flow. Pressure is only a result of the water debit and the resistance of the puck together. Just touching on again with the Conti's pre-infusion, the reason why the soft infusion system on the Conti is so good is because it does retain all those extracted solubles from the beginning of the extraction, can be used regardless if you're plumbed in or not, and it's consistent. There's no varying pressure, none of that. It's always the same. As long as you've ran that circuit purge feature and you don't have any trapped air in the system, because that can tend to mess up your volumetrics or your pre-infusion. You can program up to 20 seconds of that pre-infusion time on the app. However, I have found it allows you to only set up to 10. So there's a bit of a discrepancy there to be addressed. So who is this machine for? Well, you kind of have to look at it through two different lenses. From a commercial point of view, it's a commercial grade, small, compact machine with true pre-infusion, volumetrics, amazing temperature stability, amazing steam power. You can plumb it in or you can run it off of the tank. Like, it's super versatile. Here at Parallel, it's been a great help. We've used this for different pop-ups and markets. This has allowed us to really expand our brand, getting out there into the public, meeting people in person instead of being hidden away in our roastery. I think in particular the dual version of the machine, being able to just kind of plug and play wherever you are. I've been able to take this on the road with me to trainings and to events and stuff, and not necessarily had to worry about bringing an entire espresso cart with me, having to plumb it in. For me, it's really a no-brainer in a commercial capacity. I think, compared to its competition on the market, if you're looking for a one-group machine. That's why we've actually decided to buy this machine, because I can't quite give it up yet. I'm not willing to send it back, especially because it's a custom one-of-one version. It's going to be so great for us in our business going forward. The other perspective you can look through is, of course, if you're a home barista. Obviously, this machine is really large and quite heavy. Once you have it at home, you probably wouldn't move it around too much, but you need the space for it. So if you have a small kitchen or a small designated coffee area, this might not be the machine for you. Secondly, it's quite expensive. It's a serious machine with a serious price tag. Coming around £4,000, this machine is no joke in terms of price. This thing, like I said before, it comes with a lot of features that other machines in this bracket don't have. And one thing in particular is what you're getting is just the build quality. Like, it's an absolute beast. Another thing to consider as well for both businesses and home baristas is you will most likely have to purchase this through a local distributor. Those local distributors, whether they're technicians or coffee roasters or whatever, will be able to put you in touch with someone who is local and can come service this machine, change out the gaskets, do work on the inside. They can completely service it. You're getting amazing after sales support with this machine. Conti in particular in the UK, I can speak for. You can phone up the office. The very first person who answers the phone is technically trained and can assist you with anything you need with this machine. I've worked for roasters in the past who sell these machines, and whenever you had to get replacement parts for a customer, they would always send them up pretty much the next day, which is great. You wouldn't have to wait like 5, 6, 7 weeks, 2 months to get a replacement screw or a gasket or a seal or a pipe or whatever it is. You basically get it next day, which is great. Can't say that for a lot of other coffee machine manufacturers, unfortunately. The aftercare alone is super convincing for me. So yeah, that's my review of the Conti Ace. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this machine? Have you considered it before? Did you even know it existed? Have you used one? What do you think? If this video was helpful, then please do drop a follow. I've got plenty more gear review videos coming soon. Maybe this guy here, you might have snagged in the back. Anyway, that's all for me. Cheers. See ya.